Some moments split your life into before and after, and Zara Foster would forever remember the exact texture of the morning light streaming through the kitchen window when her daughter destroyed her world with a single word. "Lana, can I have more juice?" The glass pitcher hung suspended in Zara's hand, orange juice threatening to spill over the rim of Donna's cup as the words registered in her brain, like a foreign language she almost understood but couldn't quite translate. She blinked, her heart suddenly beating in a strange, irregular rhythm that felt too loud in her chest, echoing in her ears like a drum warning of danger. "Baby, what did you call me?" Zara's voice came out softer than she intended, almost a whisper, as she carefully set the pitcher down on the breakfast table with trembling hands. Donna looked up from her coloring book, her face smeared with remnants of syrup, her brown eyes wide and innocent in that way only a child's can be, completely unaware of the bomb she was about to detonate. "Lana, that's your name, right?" "That's what Daddy calls her." The kitchen floor seemed to tilt beneath Zara's feet, the entire room spinning slightly. She gripped the edge of the table, her knuckles going white against the wood, fingernails digging into the surface. Across from her, Rick Dawson sat frozen with his fork halfway to his mouth, his face draining of color so rapidly he looked like he might be sick right there at the table. His breakfast forgotten. "Sweetheart," Zara said, kneeling beside her daughter's chair with effort, trying desperately to keep her voice steady, even as something cold and terrible started spreading through her chest like ice water in her veins. "I'm Mommy, who's Lana?" Donna smiled, that bright, guileless smile that made Zara's heart contract painfully in her chest. "Daddy's friend who sleeps here when you're at work. She makes special pancakes with the chocolate chips in the shape of smiley faces. You never make them like that. Lana's pancakes are way better than yours, and she lets me help." The world went completely silent, as if someone had pressed mute on reality itself. Zara could see Rick's mouth moving frantically, could see him setting down his fork with shaking hands, standing up from his chair so fast it scraped against the floor. But she couldn't hear anything over the roaring in her ears, like ocean waves crashing inside her skull. Her hands were shaking uncontrollably as she smoothed down Donna's hair with deliberate gentleness, as she forced herself to smile at her daughter like nothing was collapsing inside her chest, like the foundation of everything she'd built wasn't crumbling beneath her feet in real time. "Those sound like really good pancakes, baby. Special pancakes. When does Lana make them for you?" "Today, when you go to work early in the mornings, the days you have to be there before the sun comes up. Daddy says Lana is his very special friend, and I shouldn't tell you because it's supposed to be a big surprise for later when you're ready." Donna went back to her coloring with complete focus, completely unaware that she'd just detonated a nuclear bomb in the center of their family, completely oblivious to the devastation spreading across her mother's face like a stain. Zara stood up slowly, her legs feeling like they might give out beneath her at any moment, like her bones had turned to water. She turned to face Rick, and in that single devastating moment, she saw everything she'd been forcing herself not to see for months, maybe even longer. The way he'd stopped kissing her goodbye in the morning, just waving absently as he headed out the door without looking back. The way he showered twice when he came home from work, claiming he'd been at the gym, even though his gym bag was always suspiciously clean and fresh, never actually used. The unfamiliar scent that clung to his shirts even after she'd washed them twice in hot water. Something floral and expensive and sophisticated that definitely wasn't her drugstore perfume. The way he'd stopped reaching for her in bed at night, claiming exhaustion, claiming stress, claiming headaches, claiming back pain, claiming everything except the truth that was now staring her directly in the face with brutal clarity. Rick. His name came out flat, emotionless, and somehow that made it more terrifying than if she'd screamed it at the top of her lungs. "We need to talk. Right now. Immediately." He looked at her with the face of a man caught in a trap entirely of his own making. pale and sweating despite the cool morning air, his eyes darting between her and Donna like he was frantically calculating whether he could somehow lie his way out of this impossible situation. Whether there were magic words that could undo what had just happened. Zara, let me explain what's happening here. It's not in front of her. Zara's voice cut through whatever pathetic excuse he was preparing like a knife through butter, sharp and final. She turned to Donna, forcing brightness into her tone that she absolutely didn't feel, her face muscles aching from the effort. Baby, why don't you go watch your favorite cartoons in the living room? Mommy and Daddy need to talk about some grown-up things for a little while. Take your juice with you. Donna hopped down from her chair eagerly, oblivious to the tension crackling through the air like electricity before a lightning strike, and skipped toward the living room, humming a song from one of her shows about friendship and rainbows. The moment she was out of sight, completely out of earshot, Zara turned back to Rick with an expression that made him physically recoil, and whatever he saw in her face made him take an involuntary step backward, away from her. How long has this been going on? The question came out quiet, deadly calm. The kind of calm that comes before a hurricane. Rick opened his mouth, closed it again, ran his hand through his hair in that nervous gesture she'd once found endearing and now wanted to physically rip from his body. Zara, it's really not what you think is happening here. How long has this been going on? Answer the question. 6 months. The words tumbled out of him in a desperate rush, like he thought speed would make it hurt less. Maybe 7. I honestly don't know exactly when it started. It just kind of happened gradually. I didn't plan it. And you brought her here into our home. Zara's voice was still eerily, unnaturally calm, but her hands were clenched so tight her nails were cutting deep crescents into her palms, drawing blood that she didn't notice. Into our home where our daughter lives. Into our daughter's life. You let her make breakfast for our child. You let her sleep in our bed. The bed where we sleep together, where we made love, where we conceived Donna. It wasn't like that. I swear to you. Rick started desperately, but Zara held up her hand sharply, cutting him off mid-sentence. Don't you dare try to minimize this or make it sound less terrible than it actually is. Her voice was rising now, the calm facade cracking like ice over a frozen lake in spring. I worked double shifts at the hospital, Rick. 12, 14, sometimes 16-hour days. I manage the entire administrative department. I come home absolutely exhausted every single night, barely able to stand, and you know what I do? I make dinner for this family. I help Donna with her homework even when my eyes are burning. I do the laundry that never seems to end, the dishes, the cleaning. I take care of this house, this family, every single thing that needs to be done. And the entire time, all those months, you were bringing another woman into my home, letting her play house with my daughter, making her think she's part of this family, confusing my child about who her mother even is. Rick's face twisted into something defensive, something ugly and self-pitying that made Zara's stomach turn violently, made her want to physically recoil from him. You're never here, Zara. You're always working, always focused on your precious career, your important meetings. When was the last time you actually paid real attention to me, to us, to what we had together? When was the last time you even looked at me like you loved me? The sheer audacity of that statement hit her like a physical blow to the chest, knocking the wind from her lungs. Are you seriously blaming me for your affair right now? Are you actually standing in our kitchen, where I just found out you've been cheating on me with someone our 4-year-old daughter knows by name, someone she's bonded with, and you're telling me this is somehow my fault, that I drove you to this? I'm not saying it's your fault, I'm just trying to explain how things happened. Rick stumbled over his words, his face flushing an ugly red color that clashed with his pale complexion. You got so distant, Zara, so cold and unreachable. I needed someone who actually wanted to be around me, who made me feel appreciated and valued instead of like an inconvenience. Oh, poor Rick. Zara's laugh was sharp and cutting, like broken glass scraping against stone. Poor, neglected Rick, who couldn't handle his wife having a successful career. who needed someone to constantly stroke his fragile ego because I was too busy paying our mortgage and saving money for our daughter's future education. What's her last name? Lana, what exactly? Rick hesitated, and that single moment of hesitation told Zara absolutely everything she needed to know about where his loyalties lay. He was still protecting this woman, still choosing her, even as his marriage burned down spectacularly around him, even as his wife stood in front of him demanding answers. Lana Stewart. She's a real estate agent. We met when I was looking at some investment properties for our future, for retirement. Investment properties. Zara's voice went up an entire octave, disbelief coloring every word. What investment properties? We specifically agreed we weren't making any major financial decisions without discussing them together first. That was our explicit agreement, Rick. We shook hands on it. Rick's guilty silence was answer enough, was a confession in itself. Zara turned away from him, her mind racing frantically, pieces clicking into place like a horrifying puzzle, revealing its complete picture. The money she'd noticed missing from their joint account over the past few months. Small amounts at first, but growing larger. Amounts she'd questioned, but Rick had smoothly explained away with vague references to business expenses and unexpected costs. The lease papers she'd found tucked in his car last month that he'd claimed were for a friend who needed help with paperwork. The way he'd been distant not just physically, but emotionally. Like he was living an entire separate life she wasn't part of, wasn't welcome in, wasn't even aware existed. You're paying for an apartment for her. It wasn't a question this time. It was a statement of fact. Rick's face confirmed it before his mouth could form the words, before he could even attempt another lie. It's more complicated than that, the situation. No, it's really not complicated at all. Zara turned back to him, and something in her expression made Rick take another step backward toward the door, like he was afraid of her. It's actually incredibly simple when you break it down to basics. You destroyed our family. You brought another woman into our daughter's life, confused her terribly, made her question who her own mother even is. You stole money from our accounts to support your mistress and her lifestyle. You've been lying directly to my face every single day for months, while I trusted you completely, while I worked myself to absolute exhaustion to build a secure future for us, and for our family. Zara, please just listen for 1 minute. Rick reached for her desperately, his hand extended, but she jerked away from his touch like it burned her skin, like his fingers were made of acid. Don't touch me. Don't you dare touch me right now. Her voice was shaking violently, but not with tears. With rage, with something deeper and colder and more dangerous than simple rage. How many times, Rick? How many times did you bring her here to our home? How many times did she sleep in our bed? The bed I sleep in every night trusting you, the bed where we conceived our daughter together, where we made promises to each other. Rick's face crumpled like paper in a fire. I didn't mean for any of this to go this far. I love you, Zara. I still love you so much. It was just, she made me feel young again, important, desired in ways I hadn't felt in years. Get out of my sight immediately. The words came out flat, final, like a judge pronouncing sentence without possibility of appeal. I genuinely cannot look at you right now without wanting to hurt you. Where am I supposed to go? Rick's voice rose defensively, panic creeping in. This is my house too, legally. I have rights. I don't care where you go or what you do. Go to a hotel. Go to Lana and her expensive apartment that I've been paying for. Go absolutely anywhere you want, but get out of this kitchen right now before I do something we'll both seriously regret. Zara's hands were shaking violently now, and she gripped the counter desperately to steady herself, to keep from collapsing onto the floor. Rick stared at her for a long, heavy moment, and she could actually see him calculating behind his eyes, trying desperately to figure out if there was any possible way to salvage this situation, any magic words he could say to make her forgive him and take him back and pretend this never happened. But whatever he saw in her face, in her cold eyes, in the set of her jaw, Must have told him there was absolutely nothing left to salvage here, nothing left to save, because he finally turned and walked out of the kitchen without another word, without even trying to defend himself further. Zara stood there frozen in place, listening to his footsteps on the stairs, heavy and defeated. The sounds of him moving around frantically in their bedroom, throwing things into a bag without care. She heard the front door open and close with finality, heard his car start in the driveway with a roar, heard the sound of him leaving grow fainter and fainter, until there was nothing but oppressive, suffocating silence pressing in from every direction. She walked to the bathroom on unsteady legs that barely held her weight, locked the door firmly behind her with shaking hands, and stood in front of the mirror. The woman staring back at her looked completely hollow, utterly shocked, like someone had reached inside her chest and torn something absolutely vital out, leaving a gaping hole. Her eyes were dry but wild, unfocused, her face deathly pale, her hands still trembling uncontrollably like she had a fever. And then, slowly, almost imperceptibly, something shifted in her expression. The shock hardened into something else entirely, something cold and calculating and dangerous. The devastation transformed into fury, and the fury crystallized into clear, focused purpose that sharpened her features. Zara looked at herself in the mirror and felt something inside her go completely quiet and still. The way a predator goes, perfectly still before it strikes its unsuspecting prey. The way a storm goes silent before it destroys everything in its path. Rick thought she would cry hysterically, would beg pathetically, would fall apart completely and forgive him like she always did. Rick thought she was weak because she loved him, soft and pliable, because she'd built her entire life around their family, because she'd made their marriage her priority. Rick had just made the biggest mistake of his pathetic, selfish life, because he'd underestimated the wrong woman entirely. And Zara Foster was going to make absolutely certain he spent the rest of his miserable life regretting it, understanding exactly what he'd thrown away, what he'd destroyed with his own stupid choices. She smiled at her reflection. And it wasn't a kind smile, wasn't gentle or forgiving or understanding. It was the smile of a woman who'd just declared total war, and who fully intended to win decisively, to destroy completely. Chapter 2. The Fortress She Built in Darkness. Rick didn't come home that night, and Zara didn't call him even once, didn't send a single text message. She tucked Donna into bed with her favorite stuffed rabbit, read her 3 bedtime stories instead of the usual one, and kissed her forehead tenderly while her daughter's eyes drifted peacefully closed, innocent and completely untouched by the devastating earthquake that had just shattered their foundation forever, blissfully unaware of how drastically her life was about to change. After Donna fell asleep, Zara walked through the house in complete darkness, not turning on a single light anywhere, letting her eyes slowly adjust to the shadows that seemed to press in from every corner like living things. Every room felt fundamentally different now, contaminated in ways she couldn't quite articulate, poisoned by knowledge. She wondered obsessively which rooms LANA had been in, where she'd sat casually, what she'd touched with her hands, which furniture she'd used. The thought made her skin crawl violently, made her want to burn everything they owned and start completely over from nothing, from ashes. But burning things down without thought was Rick's specialty, his particular talent for destruction. Zara was going to do something far more precise, far more devastating, far more permanent. She went to Rick's home office, a room he'd claimed as his personal sanctuary years ago, always kept locked, always declared off-limits even to her, his wife. But Zara had known where he kept the spare key for years, taped carefully under his desk drawer, where he thought no one would ever look. She'd never used it before this moment, never felt the slightest need to invade his privacy, because she'd trusted him completely and absolutely, had faith in their marriage. That trust now felt like the most foolish, naive thing she'd ever given away so freely to someone who didn't deserve it. The office was exactly as Rick had left it in his panic, papers scattered carelessly across the desk. His laptop closed, but still faintly warm from recent use, his coffee mug still half full. Zara sat in his leather chair, turned on the desk lamp with its harsh fluorescent light, and started going through absolutely everything with methodical precision, like a detective gathering evidence at a crime scene. She wasn't angry anymore, not in the hot, explosive way from this morning. The rage had cooled and hardened into something far more dangerous than simple anger. Absolute crystalline clarity, purpose that cut like a diamond blade. The bank statements were tucked carefully in the bottom drawer, and Zara spread them across the desk surface, like evidence at a trial, like exhibits that would condemn him. There it was, laid out in black and white. Transaction after damning transaction. Money bleeding steadily out of their joint account, in amounts carefully calculated to be small enough not to trigger any automatic alarms, but definitely large enough to add up to something significant over time. Dinners at expensive restaurants she'd never been to, never even heard of, places where a single meal cost more than she spent on groceries for a week. Hotel rooms charged repeatedly to their account. Shopping charges at high-end stores that sold women's clothing and jewelry, luxury items she'd never seen. A recurring monthly payment to something called Riverside Luxury Apartments that made her blood run cold in her veins. Zara pulled out her phone with shaking hands and searched the address with growing horror. Downtown, waterfront, the kind of place where a single bedroom cost more per month than some people's entire mortgages, the kind of building that had a doorman and valet parking. Rick had been paying for Lana's luxury apartment, while Zara clipped coupons, obsessively, and worried constantly about their savings, about Donna's future education fund that seemed to grow slower than it should, about their retirement accounts that never seemed adequate. She kept digging deeper into his files, kept uncovering more lies buried like bodies. Rick's laptop opened without any password protection because he'd always been frustratingly careless about security, always told Zara she was paranoid and overcautious when she suggested he protect his devices properly. Inside, his email told the complete story her heart already knew, but her mind desperately needed confirmed in writing, needed to see in black and white. Messages to Lana going back 8 full months, not 6, like Rick had claimed this morning in the kitchen. Sweet messages at first, flirtatious and attention-seeking, the kind of pathetic garbage men write when they're desperately trying to feel important and valued. Then they got progressively more explicit, more sexually graphic, more absolutely damning with every exchange. Plans to meet at specific hotels on specific dates when Zara would be working. Detailed discussions about when Zara would be working her longest shifts, when the house would be empty. Lana sending photos that made Zara's stomach turn violently. Photos she had to force herself to look at as evidence, as proof. But it was the recent emails that made Zara's blood run absolutely ice-cold in her veins, that made her hands shake so hard she could barely hold the mouse. Lana pressuring Rick aggressively about their future together, about when exactly he was going to leave his wife, about how much longer she had to wait patiently in the shadows, like a secret. Rick's responses were weak and non-committal. Pathetic, really, obviously stringing her along with vague promises and empty words. And then, 3 weeks ago, an email from Lana with a subject line that made the entire room spin sickeningly, that made Zara feel like she might vomit. "We need to talk about the baby immediately." Zara opened it with hands shaking so violently she could barely control the cursor, barely click the right button. Lana was pregnant. 8 weeks along, according to the details she'd written. She'd attached an ultrasound photo, a grainy little blob of grey and white that represented another life. Another massive complication, another bomb waiting to explode and destroy everything further. Another child that would tie Rick to this woman forever. Rick's response was absolutely pathetic and cowardly, exactly what she'd expect from him now. He'd asked her if she was completely sure, if she'd considered other options they could discuss, if they could wait a while longer to make any permanent decisions about the pregnancy. Lana's reply was ice-cold and final. "I'm keeping our baby, Rick, with or without you being involved." But I'd strongly prefer with make your choice soon, because time is running out. Zara sat back heavily in the chair, her mind racing frantically through implications and consequences, through possibilities and futures. This wasn't just a simple affair anymore, wasn't just about Rick wanting attention and validation from another woman. This was Rick potentially having another child, starting another entire family, while still legally married to her, while still living in their house, while still pretending to be her husband. This was him torn between two completely different lives, too weak and cowardly to choose either one decisively and own his choices like an adult. She took photos of absolutely everything with her phone, her hands finally steadying as purpose took over. Every bank statement, every incriminating email, every receipt and transaction record. She uploaded them carefully to a cloud storage account Rick didn't know existed, backed them up twice on different services, emailed copies to herself, made absolutely sure she had copies of copies that could never be lost or destroyed or explained away. Then she went through his desk drawers even more carefully, finding additional evidence she hadn't expected to discover. Documents for a storage unit she'd never heard him mention even once in conversation. A second credit card in his name, only that she didn't know about, with statements showing even more spending she knew nothing about. A handwritten note from LANA on expensive stationery that said in flowing script, "Last night was absolutely everything I dreamed it would be. Thank you for finally seeing me, really seeing me for who I am. I can't wait until we don't have to hide anymore, until we can be together openly." The note was dated 3 days ago, just 3 days before this morning's revelation. 3 days. While Zara had been working a brutal 14-hour shift at the hospital, rushing home exhausted to make dinner for her family, falling asleep on the couch in her work clothes because she was too tired to even change. Rick had been with LANA, making promises about their future together, building a fantasy life, planning a world that didn't include his wife and daughter. Zara's phone suddenly buzzed loudly in the silent room, making her jump violently. A text from Rick. "Can we please talk? I'm so sorry. I know I messed up badly. Please just talk to me. I need you." She stared at the message for a long moment, at his weak, pathetic attempt to fix what he'd so thoroughly broken, and felt absolutely nothing but pure contempt washing over her. He wasn't sorry for what he'd done. He was sorry he'd been caught. There was a fundamental difference, and Zara understood it bone deep, understood it in her soul. She didn't respond to his message, didn't give him the satisfaction. Instead, she opened her contacts and scrolled to a name she hadn't called in months, Tamara Hughes. They'd met at a hospital fundraiser nearly 2 years ago, and Tamara had given Zara her business card, telling her sincerely to call if she ever needed legal help with anything at all. Tamara was a divorce attorney with an absolutely fierce reputation for being ruthless on behalf of her clients, for destroying opposing parties completely and thoroughly, for winning cases that seemed unwinnable. Zara drafted a careful email, keeping it brief and professional despite her emotional state, despite the rage burning in her chest. She explained the situation clearly and concisely, attached some of the most damning evidence she'd found tonight, and asked for a consultation as soon as humanly possible. She hit send before she could second-guess herself or talk herself out of it, before fear could make her hesitate. The reply came back within 20 minutes, even though it was almost midnight, even though any reasonable person would be asleep. "Zara, I'm so incredibly sorry you're going through this nightmare. I have an opening tomorrow morning first thing. Come to my office at 9 sharp. Bring absolutely everything you found tonight. We're going to make sure you and your daughter are completely protected. And Zara, based on what you've sent me already, he doesn't stand a chance against us. See you tomorrow." Zara felt something unclench painfully in her chest, felt relief wash over her. She wasn't alone in this fight. She had concrete proof, she had professional help, and she had the critical element of surprise. Rick thought he could apologize his way back into her life, thought she would eventually forgive him because she always had before when he messed up. because she was soft and forgiving and loved him. But the woman who always forgave him, who always gave him another chance, who always put his needs before her own, died this morning in the kitchen. The woman sitting in his office right now was someone completely new, someone harder and sharper and more dangerous, someone who would make absolutely sure Rick Dawson paid dearly for every lie, every betrayal, every moment he stole from their family to give to another woman, every dollar he spent on his mistress. Her phone buzzed again insistently in her hand. Another text from Rick, longer this time. "I love you. Please believe that. I know I hurt you terribly, but we can fix this together. We can go to counseling. I'll do whatever it takes. Just please don't give up on us." Zara looked at the message, at his cheap words that meant absolutely nothing, that were just empty sounds, and typed a single, carefully calculated sentence in response. "Come home tomorrow night at 7. We need to discuss next steps. Don't contact me before then." She needed him to think there was hope, needed him to believe she might actually consider reconciliation and forgiveness, needed him to relax. Because the moment Rick thought he was safe, the moment he relaxed and let his guard down completely, she was going to systematically destroy him so completely and thoroughly he'd spend the rest of his life trying desperately to remember what it felt like to have everything, to have a family who loved him. Zara closed the laptop carefully, turned off the lamp, and walked out of his office, leaving absolutely everything exactly as she'd found it, erasing any trace of her presence. Tomorrow, she'd meet with Tamara and start building her case brick by brick. Tomorrow, she'd start gathering more evidence and documentation. Tomorrow, the war would begin in earnest, and she would fight with everything she had. But tonight, she'd let Rick believe his pitiful apology might actually work, might be enough. She'd let him think she was weak enough to forgive him, soft enough to take him back after everything, foolish enough to believe his promises. It was the last mistake he'd get to make at her expense, the last time he'd underestimate her. Chapter 3. The Truth Behind Closed Doors. Zara showed up to Tamara Hughes' office at exactly 9 in the morning, wearing her best professional suit, her hair pulled back in a neat bun, her makeup carefully applied to hide the exhaustion and stress that had kept her awake most of the night. She looked calm and collected, like a woman who had her life completely together and under control. It was a carefully constructed performance, and she knew it. But appearances mattered tremendously in situations like this, and she needed to look strong even if she felt like she was barely holding herself. Together with willpower and caffeine, Tamara's office was exactly what Zara expected from someone with her reputation. Expensive. Furniture that spoke of success, law degrees and awards covering one entire wall, and an energy that absolutely screamed competence and authority. Tamara herself was in her late 40s, sharp-eyed and direct, the kind of woman who didn't waste precious time on pointless pleasantries when there was serious work to be done. "Show me what you found," Tamara said after the briefest of greetings. Gesturing to the large conference table, Zara spread out everything she'd collected the night before. The bank statements, the printed emails, the photos on her phone, the receipts and transaction records. She walked Tamara through it all methodically and thoroughly, her voice remaining steady even when she got to the part about the pregnancy, about LANA being in her home, about Donna calling this other woman by name like she was part of their family. Tamara listened without interrupting once, making detailed notes, occasionally asking for clarification on specific points. When Zara finished her presentation, Tamara sat back in her chair and looked at her with something that might have been genuine respect mixed with sympathy. "You've done my job for me," Tamara said bluntly. "This is absolutely airtight. Documented adultery, clear misuse of marital funds, evidence of systematic deception over an extended period. Plus, and this is crucial, he introduced his mistress to your minor child without your knowledge or consent. That's going to matter significantly in custody proceedings. I want primary custody." Zara said, her voice firm and unwavering. I don't want him anywhere near Donna unsupervised until I know he's not going to confuse her more than he already has. We can absolutely argue for that. The judge will take into account the child's well-being and the fact that he's already caused confusion and distress by bringing his affair partner into her life. Tamara paused, studying Zara carefully. What do you want out of this divorce? And be completely honest. Not what you think you should want, but what you actually want. Zara didn't hesitate. I want the house. It's in both our names, but I've been the one maintaining it, paying for it, making it a home. I want primary custody with him getting minimal visitation. I want child support, and I want him to understand what he threw away, even if that means watching him struggle for a while. The last part isn't something I can guarantee in court, Tamara said with a slight smile, but everything else is absolutely achievable. Given the evidence you have, we can push for a very favorable settlement. Now here's what I need you to understand. This is going to get ugly. He's going to fight back once he realizes what's happening. He's going to try to paint you as vindictive, as someone who won't forgive a mistake. He might try to use your work schedule against you, claim you're never home. Are you prepared for that? Let him try, Zara said coldly. I've been working to support our family while he was playing house with his mistress. Any judge with sense will see that. Good. I like clients who don't flinch. Tamara pulled out a legal pad. Here's what we're going to do. First, you're going to open a bank account in your name only and transfer exactly half of what's in your joint account. That's your legal right. Second, we're going to document every interaction you have with Rick from this point forward. Text messages, emails, everything. Third, I'm going to have one of our investigators look into LANA Stewart. I want to know everything about her. Her history, her finances, whether this is a pattern for her. Knowledge is power, and we're going to have all of it. Zara nodded, absorbing every instruction carefully. This was what she desperately needed, a clear plan, a solid strategy, someone who knew how to fight this battle better than she did. One more thing, Tamara said, her expression serious. I'd need to know if you have any skeletons in your closet. Anything Rick could use against you in court. Affairs of your own, financial impropriety, substance issues, anything. I need to know now so I can prepare a defense. Nothing, Zara said. I've spent years being a faithful wife and a devoted mother. I've worked hard, paid my bills, never even gotten a speeding ticket. I'm boring, and right now, boring is exactly what I need to be. Perfect. Boring wins custody cases. Tamara stood, extending her hand. Welcome to the fight of your life, Zara. I promise you, we're going to make sure you come out of this stronger than you went in. Zara shook her hand, feeling something settle firmly in her chest. She had an ally now. She had a plan. She had evidence. Rick thought he was safe because she'd told him to come home tonight. Thought she was going to give him a chance to explain himself properly. He had no idea what was coming. Zara left Tamara's office and went straight to the bank. She opened a new account, transferred her half of their savings, watched the numbers shift from one column to another with a sense of satisfaction that surprised her. This was her money, earned by her labor, and she wasn't leaving it for Rick to spend on his mistress anymore. Then she went to work, forcing herself to focus on the tasks at hand, even though her mind kept circling back to tonight's confrontation. Her assistant noticed something was off, asked if she was feeling all right. Zara smiled and said she was just tired, nothing serious. She wasn't ready to tell anyone what was happening, not yet. Not until she was sure Rick couldn't twist the narrative in his favor. When evening came, Zara picked up Donna from daycare and took her to Rick's mother's house. Patricia Dawson loved her granddaughter fiercely, and Zara had always had a good relationship with her mother-in-law. Patricia answered the door with a warm smile that faltered when she saw Zara's expression. "Is everything all right, honey?" Patricia asked, ushering them inside. "I need to ask you a favor," Zara said quietly, glancing at Donna, who was already running toward her toy box in the corner. "Could Donna spend the night here? Rick and I need to have a serious conversation, and I don't want her to overhear." Patricia's smile faded completely. What's going on? Zara hesitated, then decided Patricia deserved to know. Rick has been having an affair. For months. I just found out yesterday. We need to discuss what happens next, and I can't do that with Donna in the house. Patricia's hand flew to her mouth, her eyes filling with tears. Oh, Zara, oh, honey, I'm so sorry. I raised him better than that. I don't understand. I don't either, Zara said, her voice tight. But right now, I just need to protect Donna from the fallout. Can she stay here tonight? Of course. As long as you need. Patricia pulled Zara into a hug that nearly broke through her careful composure. You're still family to me, no matter what my stupid son has done. You hear me? You're still my daughter. Zara nodded, not trusting herself to speak. She kissed Donna goodbye, promised to see her tomorrow, and drove home with her heart pounding in her chest. Rick's car was already in the driveway when she arrived. She sat in her own car for a moment, gathering herself, preparing for the performance she was about to give. Then she walked inside. Rick was in the kitchen, looking nervous and hopeful all at once. He'd brought flowers, lilies, her favorites. The gesture was so painfully inadequate that Zara almost laughed. "Where's Donna?" he asked. "At your mother's. I thought it was better if she wasn't here for this conversation." Zara set her purse down, crossed her arms. "You wanted to talk, so talk." Rick took a breath, and Zara could see him preparing his speech, the apology he'd probably practiced all day. "I know I hurt you. I know what I did was unforgivable. But Zara, I love you. I've always loved you. I just got confused, and LANA made me feel important," Zara supplied. "Appreciated, desired? Save it, Rick. I've heard it all before." "Then what do you want me to say?" Rick's voice cracked. "Tell me what I can do to fix this. I'll end things with LANA. I'll go to therapy. I'll do whatever you need. Tell me about the baby." The words stopped him cold. Zara watched the color drain from his face, watched him realize she knew everything. "Tell me about the baby LANA's carrying. The one she's been pressuring you about for weeks." Rick's mouth opened and closed, like a fish gasping for air. "How did you—" "I read your emails. All of them. I know everything, Rick. The apartment you're paying for. The money you've been stealing from our account. The storage unit. The second credit card. Every single thing." Zara's voice was steel wrapped in silk. "So don't stand there with your pathetic flowers and tell me you love me. You love yourself. You love feeling important. But you don't love me, and you sure as hell don't love our daughter. That's not fair," Rick started, but Zara cut him off. "You brought your pregnant mistress into our home. You let our daughter meet her, bond with her, get confused about who her mother is. You spent our savings on hotel rooms and gifts while I worked myself to exhaustion. You'd lied to my face every single day for months. And now you want to tell me about fair." Rick sank into a chair, his face in his hands. "What do you want me to do?" Zara looked at him, at this man she'd built a life with, and felt nothing but cold contempt. "I want you to pack your things and leave. Tonight. We'll discuss custody arrangements through lawyers. Don't contact me unless it's about Donna. And Rick," she waited until he looked up at her, "I hope she's worth it. I hope LANA is everything you thought she'd be. Because you just traded your family for her, and there's no coming back from that." The look on Rick's face told her everything she needed to know. He'd expected forgiveness, expected her to eventually take him back, expected his life to continue mostly unchanged. Reality was finally sinking in. "I never meant for it to end like this," he whispered. "No one ever does," Zara said. "But here we are." Chapter 4. The Woman in the Mirror. Zara didn't sleep after Rick left with 2 suitcases and a face full of shock and disbelief. She lay in bed staring at the ceiling, her mind too active to rest, replaying every conversation, every moment, every carefully constructed lie. By morning, she'd made a decision that would have seemed crazy just days ago, but now felt absolutely necessary for her own peace of mind. She needed to meet LANA Stewart face to face, needed to look her in the eyes, not to scream at her, not to fight over Rick's worthless affection and validation. Zara needed to look this woman directly in the eyes and understand what kind of person could do what she'd done, without apparent remorse. She needed to see if Lana had any idea whatsoever that she was being used just as much as Zara had been, just in different ways. She found Lana's phone number in Rick's email and sent a text from her own phone. "This is Rick's wife. Meet me at Brews and Beans at noon today. Come alone. We need to talk." Lana responded within minutes. "I'll be there." Now Zara sat in a corner booth, nursing a coffee she couldn't taste, watching the door with growing anxiety. When Lana walked in, Zara felt her breath catch in her throat. The woman was striking, no denying it whatsoever. Tall, polished, with the kind of calculated beauty that came from knowing exactly how to present herself. She wore designer clothes that probably cost more than Zara's monthly salary, her hair perfectly styled, her makeup absolutely flawless. Lana spotted Zara immediately and walked over with surprising confidence. No shame, no hesitation whatsoever. She slid into the booth across from Zara and ordered a tea when the server came by. "So you're the wife?" Lana said, her voice cool and appraising, like she was evaluating merchandise. "And you're the home wrecker," Zara replied evenly. "Though I suppose that's not quite accurate, since you also appear to be pregnant with my husband's child." Lana's hand went instinctively to her stomach, a protective gesture that told Zara everything. "Rick told you about the baby." "Rick didn't tell me anything. I found out myself. He's not quite as clever as he thinks he is." Zara studied Lana carefully, looking for signs of guilt, of remorse, of anything remotely human. "What did you think was going to happen here? That Rick would leave me, marry you, and you'd all live happily ever after? Why not?" Lana's tone was defensive now. "It happens all the time. Men leave wives who don't appreciate them for women who do." "Appreciate them," Zara repeated, the words bitter on her tongue. "Is that what you call it? Making him feel special while I was working to support our family? Sleeping in my bed while I was saving for our daughter's future?" "Your daughter, not his?" Lana's smile was sharp. "Interesting choice of words. She's mine in every way that matters. I'm the one raising her, caring for her, putting her first. What does Rick do besides show up occasionally when it's convenient?" Zara leaned forward. "Let me tell you something about the man you're having a baby with. Rick is good at beginnings. He's charming, attentive, makes you feel like you're the center of his universe. But once reality sets in, once things get hard, he disappears. He'll do it to you, too." "You're just bitter because he chose me," Lana said, but there was uncertainty creeping into her voice now. "He didn't choose you. He chose easy. He chose someone who doesn't know him well enough yet to see his flaws, someone who still thinks he's special instead of just ordinary." Zara took a sip of her coffee. "Tell me, how much has Rick told you about his life? About his past relationships?" Lana hesitated. "Enough. Did he tell you about losing his last position because he couldn't handle the pressure? Or how about the credit card debt I had to help him pay off? Did he mention that his own mother worries about his inability to take responsibility for anything?" Zara watched Lana's face carefully. "No, that's what I thought." "You're lying," Lana said, but her voice wavered. "I'm not, and you know it. Otherwise, you wouldn't look so worried right now." Zara set her cup down. "How much has Rick been helping you with rent? Let me guess. He told you his finances were complicated because of me, because I control everything." Lana's silence was confirmation enough. "Here's the truth. Rick has been using marital funds to support you. Money that I earned, that should have gone to our daughter, he's been spending on your apartment, your lifestyle. And now that I've frozen those accounts, he has nothing. No savings, no job prospects that'll pay what he was making, no way to support two families." Zara leaned back. "So tell me, Lana, now that he has nothing to offer you, how long before you're gone?" "I love him," Lana said, but it sounded hollow even to her own ears. "No, you don't. You love what he represented. Security, attention, the fantasy of being chosen. But love doesn't destroy families. Love doesn't let a man cheat on his wife and confuse his daughter." Zara stood up, gathering her things. "Good luck with the baby. You're going to need it, because the man you think you know doesn't exist. You're just the next woman in line learning that lesson the hard way." She walked out before Lana could respond, leaving her sitting there with her expensive tea and her crumbling illusions. Zara didn't know if the conversation would change anything, didn't know if Lana would stay or go. But she'd needed to say her piece, needed to look the other woman in the eye and let her know exactly what she'd won. The rest of the day passed in a blur of activity and planning. Zara picked up Donna from Patricia's house, listened to her daughter's excited stories about baking cookies with Grandma, and tried to act normal, even though nothing felt normal anymore. That evening her phone rang. It was an unknown number, but something made her answer. Zara Foster? The voice was female, professional, authoritative. Yes? This is Detective Iris Caldwell with the Fraud Division. I understand you've been gathering evidence regarding financial irregularities in your marriage. I'd like to speak with you about Rick Dawson's activities. Would you be available to come down to the station tomorrow morning? Zara's heart started racing. What is this about? We've been investigating some irregularities involving Mr. Dawson's workplace finances. Your attorney contacted us with information that may be relevant to our ongoing case. I'd prefer to discuss the details in person if possible. Zara agreed to come in the next morning, then hung up feeling stunned. She called Tamara immediately, her hands shaking. I took the liberty of reaching out to some contacts, Tamara explained calmly. The evidence you found suggested Rick was stealing from you. I wanted to see if he'd been doing the same at his workplace. Turns out he had been. They've been conducting a quiet internal investigation for weeks now. So what does this mean for my case? Zara asked. It means Rick's problems just got significantly bigger than a divorce. It means he's going to be too busy dealing with potential criminal consequences to fight you effectively on custody or assets. It means, Zara, that we just got handed leverage most people only dream about having. Zara hung up and sat in stunned silence, processing this new information. Rick wasn't just a cheating husband and a liar. He was a thief, someone willing to steal from the people and organizations who trusted him most. And now everyone was going to know it. She should have felt victorious and vindicated. Instead, she just felt exhausted and strangely sad for the man she'd once believed Rick to be, before she knew who he really was underneath the charming exterior. Chapter 5. When Everything Falls Apart. Rick called Zara 17 times over the next 2 days. She didn't answer any of them. Whatever he wanted to say, she didn't want to hear it. Her lawyer handled all communication now, clean and professional, the way things should have been from the start. On the third morning, Tamara called with news. Rick was served with divorce papers at the coffee shop, where he's been staying near his office. I made sure the petition included detailed documentation of the affair and financial misappropriation. It's all public record now. How did he react? Zara asked, surprised by how little she cared about the answer. According to the process server, not well at all. He tried to argue, claimed we needed to work this out privately through mediation. But the legal proceedings are officially underway now. There's no going back. Tamara paused. There's something else. The workplace investigation concluded yesterday. They found evidence of unauthorized transactions going back 8 months. Rick's being asked to repay what was taken within 30 days or face potential legal action. Zara absorbed this information silently. Part of her, the part that had loved Rick once upon a time, felt a twinge of sympathy. But the larger part, the part that remembered Donna saying Lana instead of Mom, felt that he'd created his own mess and deserved to live with the consequences. What happens next? She asked. We wait for his response to the divorce petition. His attorney will probably try to negotiate, argue for joint custody, claim the evidence is circumstantial. But with the workplace situation and the ironclad proof of the affair, we're in a very strong position. Tamara's voice softened slightly. How are you holding up? I'm managing, Zara said. Some moments I'm angry, some moments I'm just numb. Mostly I'm worried about Donna. She keeps asking where Daddy is and when he's coming home. That's natural and healthy for a child her age. Kids are resilient, but transitions are hard. Have you considered getting her into play therapy, someone who specializes in helping children process family changes constructively? I'll look into it today, Zara promised. That afternoon, Patricia called, her voice tight with emotion and disappointment. Zara, honey, Rick came by the house this morning. He's struggling badly. He's saying you're trying to destroy his entire life, that you're being vindictive and cruel. I'm protecting myself and Donna, Zara replied firmly. There's a significant difference between those things. I know that. And I told him as much. I told him he made his choices knowingly, and now he has to live with the consequences. Patricia sighed heavily. But he's still my son. It's breaking my heart to see him like this, even though I know completely he brought it on himself. I understand, Zara said, and she meant it. I don't want to put you in the middle of this, Patricia. If you need space from me— Don't you dare finish that sentence, Patricia interrupted fiercely. You and Donna are my family. What Rick did doesn't change that. I just wanted you to know he's struggling, but I also want you to know I support you completely. Whatever you need, I'm here. After they hung up, Zara felt tears threatening for the first time since this whole nightmare began. Patricia's unwavering support meant more than she could express. At least Donna wouldn't lose her grandmother through all this chaos. The next development came from an unexpected direction. Zara was at work when her assistant buzzed her office. There's a woman here to see you. Says her name is LANA Stewart, and it's urgent. Zara's first instinct was to refuse the meeting entirely, but curiosity won out. Send her in. LANA looked different than she had at the coffee shop just days ago. Less polished, more desperate. Her makeup couldn't quite hide the dark circles under her eyes, and her designer clothes hung a little looser than they had before. What do you want? Zara asked, not bothering with pleasantries. I needed to talk to you. LANA sat down without being invited. Rick's been calling me non-stop. He's falling apart completely. He says you're destroying him, that you've ruined his career, frozen his accounts, turned his family against him. And you're here because— Zara kept her voice neutral. Because I need to know if what you said was true, about him losing his position, about the money situation. LANA's hands twisted in her lap. I tried to access the account he set up for my apartment expenses. It's empty. He hasn't paid this month's rent. I called his workplace and they confirmed he's been suspended pending investigation. All of that is completely true and accurate, Zara confirmed. Rick took funds from his workplace without authorization. He took money from me and our family. He's about to face the consequences of those choices. LANA's face crumpled. I'm pregnant. I can't afford that apartment on my own. I thought he was going to leave you, that we'd be together and build a life. And now you're realizing he can't offer you anything, Zara said without sympathy. Welcome to reality, LANA. This is what you signed up for when you decided to sleep with a married man. I didn't know it would be like this, LANA whispered. Of course you didn't. You thought you were getting a successful man with resources, someone who would take care of you and your baby. Instead, you got a liar and a thief who's about to lose everything. Zara stood up. I have work to do. I suggest you figure out your own situation, because Rick certainly isn't going to help you anymore. And what am I supposed to do? LANA's voice broke. I don't know. And honestly, I don't care, Zara said, but her tone was less harsh than her words. You made your choices. You destroyed my marriage, confused my daughter, and helped Rick take from our family. Whatever happens to you now, you'll have to handle it yourself. Lana left without another word, and Zara returned to her desk feeling strangely empty. She thought confronting Lana again would feel good, would feel like justice. Instead, it just felt sad. Two women whose lives Rick had damaged, and he was probably somewhere feeling sorry for himself instead of taking responsibility. That evening, Zara's lawyer called with an update. Rick's attorney reached out. They want to negotiate a settlement. Rick's willing to agree to primary custody going to you if you agree to a more generous division of assets and don't pursue any workplace matters. Tell them absolutely not, Zara said immediately. I want primary custody because I deserve it, not because he's trying to bargain his way out of trouble. And I'm not making any deals about the workplace situation. He did what he did, and he can face the consequences. I thought you'd say that, Tamara replied with satisfaction. This is going to proceed through the courts, Zara. Are you ready for that reality? I'm ready, Zara said, and she meant it. Let's finish this properly. Chapter 6. The Slow Collapse. The custody evaluation arrived like a sentence from a judge, official and intimidating. A court-appointed psychologist would interview both Zara and Rick separately, then speak with Donna in a child-friendly environment designed to make her comfortable. Zara spent hours preparing meticulously, making sure her home was absolutely perfect, gathering extensive documentation of her involvement in Donna's life, school records, medical appointments, activity schedules, everything that proved she was the primary parent. Rick, according to Tamara's sources, showed up to his evaluation unprepared and emotional. He broke down crying when asked about the affair, claimed he didn't know how things had gotten so out of control, admitted he'd made terrible mistakes, but insisted he loved his daughter more than anything in the world. The psychologist's report, when it came through, was devastating for Rick but vindicating for Zara. It noted his current housing instability, his poor judgment in introducing a romantic partner to his child without the other parent's knowledge or consent, and his significant difficulty taking full responsibility for his actions without making excuses. The professional recommendation was primary physical custody to Zara, with supervised visitation for Rick until he could demonstrate more stability and appropriate boundaries. When Zara read the report, she felt overwhelming relief wash over her like a wave. Donna would be protected. That was all that truly mattered in this situation. But something unexpected happened after the report was filed. The supervised visitation center supervisor called Zara after Rick's first official visit. I wanted to give you a heads up about something. Mr. Dawson seemed genuinely remorseful today. He was sober, appropriate with Donna, and actually engaged with her in a meaningful way. I'm not saying everything is fixed, but I wanted you to know he's at least trying to do better. Zara didn't know how to feel about that information. Part of her wanted Rick to fail completely, to prove he was as worthless as his actions suggested. But another part, the part that remembered the man she'd married before everything fell apart, felt a strange relief that he might be capable of being a decent father to Donna, even if he'd never be her husband again. The divorce proceedings dragged on for months. Rick's attorney filed motion after motion, claiming the asset division was unfair, that Zara was being vindictive, that she was using their daughter as a weapon against him. Tamara shot down each, claimed methodically with evidence, with documentation, with the cold hard truth of what Rick had done. Through it all, Zara focused on rebuilding her life from the ground up. She got promoted at work, the hospital offering her a director position with a significant salary increase and more responsibility. She redecorated the house systematically, room by room, erasing Rick's presence and creating something that felt entirely hers and Donna's. She started taking Donna to therapy regularly, watching her daughter slowly process the changes in their family structure. And she started dating Warren Blake, a surgeon she'd met at a hospital fundraiser months ago. They'd connected over their shared understanding of demanding careers, and their first date was coffee that turned into dinner that lasted 4 hours. Their second date included Donna, Warren suggesting they visit a children's museum together so he could meet the most important person in Zara's life. But Warren wasn't perfect, and Zara found herself grateful for that reality. He cancelled plans. When surgeries ran unexpectedly long, sometimes 3 times in a single week, leaving Zara frustrated and wondering if his career would always come first. He was guarded about his past, mentioning an ex-wife once, then changing the subject immediately, making Zara feel like she was always waiting for him to truly open up. And sometimes, when conversations got emotionally deep, she could see him, retreating behind professional courtesy, using charm to deflect instead of being genuinely vulnerable. It frustrated her, but it also felt real in a way Rick never had. Warren was flawed, complicated, still figuring himself out. He wasn't a fairy tale prince come to rescue her. He was just a man trying to do better, same as she was trying to be better. One evening, after Warren cancelled dinner again due to an emergency surgery, Zara sat with Hannah over wine at her kitchen table. "Does it bother you?" Hannah asked directly. "The cancellations, I mean." "Sometimes," Zara admitted honestly, "but I think I need someone who isn't perfect right now." Rick pretended to be perfect until he absolutely wasn't. Warren's honest about his limitations and struggles. "I can work with honest." "That's actually really healthy," Hannah said thoughtfully. "You're not looking for someone to save you or complete you. You're just looking for someone to be human with, to build something real with." "Exactly," Zara agreed. "And if it doesn't work out with Warren, that's okay too. I'm learning that I don't need a man to be whole. I just need to be honest with myself about what I want and deserve." Meanwhile, Rick was slowly, painfully getting his life together. Not quickly, not dramatically, but in small increments that surprised everyone who knew him. He'd moved into a modest apartment, nothing fancy but clean and stable. He'd found work in a different field, not in his old industry, but something that paid the bills and kept him busy. He'd started attending therapy regularly, actually attending instead of quitting after one session like he usually did. Patricia reported these changes cautiously, not wanting to make excuses for her son, but wanting Zara to know he was genuinely trying. "I'm not saying you should forgive him," Patricia said carefully during one conversation, "but I think he's finally understanding what he lost. Sometimes people need to hit absolute bottom before they can start climbing back up." At Rick's supervised visitations, the reports slowly improved over time. He was consistently sober, engaged appropriately, respectful of boundaries. Donna still kept emotional distance, but she wasn't uncomfortable or fearful around him anymore. She just treated him like a friendly acquaintance who happened to be her father, which broke Rick's heart in ways Zara could see but didn't feel obligated to fix. The court date for final divorce proceedings arrived on a cold morning in late autumn. Zara wore her most professional suit, her hair pulled back severely, minimal makeup. She wanted to look like what she was, a competent, stable parent who had her life together. Rick showed up looking better than he had in months. He'd lost the desperate edge, the panic that had defined him after the initial separation. He looked tired but determined, like someone who'd accepted his reality and was trying to work within it constructively. The judge reviewed everything thoroughly: the evidence, the custody evaluation, the financial records, the psychologist's recommendations. She made her ruling with crisp efficiency. Primary physical custody to Zara Foster. Rick Dawson would be granted supervised visitation, progressing to unsupervised visits if he maintained demonstrable stability for 6 consecutive months. Assets would be divided 70-30 in Zara's favor. Child support would be calculated based on Rick's current income level. Rick's face showed resignation rather than shock or anger. He nodded when the judge spoke, didn't argue, didn't make a scene or protest. His attorney whispered something to him, and Rick just shook his head quietly, accepting what he'd known was coming. They left the courthouse separately without speaking. Zara felt lighter than she had in months. Donna was protected. Her custody was secure. Whatever else happened, her daughter would be okay. That afternoon, Rick sent her a text. Not begging, not manipulative, just simple and honest. Thank you for not trying to keep me from Donna completely. I know I don't deserve even supervised visits. I'm going to prove I can be the father she needs, even if I failed at being the husband you deserved. Zara stared at the message for a long time. It was the first time Rick had taken responsibility without immediately following it with excuses or justifications. It didn't change anything. She would never take him back, never trust him again. But it was something, a small step toward him becoming a decent human being, even if it was too late for their marriage. She didn't respond. Some things didn't need acknowledgement. But she didn't delete the message either, saving it as proof that maybe, eventually, Rick might become someone Donna could have a real relationship with. And that would have to be enough for now. Chapter 7. Learning to Stand Alone. 8 months into the divorce proceedings, Zara realized she'd stopped thinking about Rick as her husband and started thinking of him simply as Donna's father. The shift was subtle but significant, a fundamental change in how she viewed him and their relationship. He was no longer the man who'd betrayed her so thoroughly, just someone she had to coordinate with for their daughter's sake. The supervised visitations continued consistently and slowly. Rick earned back small privileges through his behavior. The supervisor noted his consistency, his sobriety, his genuine efforts to connect with Donna on her level. When the 6-month evaluation came, the recommendation was to progress to unsupervised visits, 2 hours every other weekend, in public places initially. Zara agreed, though part of her wanted to fight it reflexively, but she'd seen Rick's reports, heard from Patricia about his therapy sessions, watched him show up on time to every single visit for 6 months straight. He was trying, genuinely, trying to be better, and denying Donna a relationship with her father just because Zara was still angry would have been cruel and counterproductive. "You're doing the right thing," Tamara told her when Zara expressed her doubts. "Being angry at your ex is healthy and justified. Using your daughter to punish him isn't. The fact that you can separate those things shows how much you've grown through this process." Warren's reaction was more complicated and revealed his own baggage. They'd been dating for 8 months now, and he'd become a fixture in Zara's life, though not without ongoing friction and adjustment. When Zara told him about the unsupervised visits, Warren's jaw tightened visibly. "Are you sure that's safe, after everything he did to you and Donna?" "He's her father, Warren. He made terrible choices as a husband, but all the reports say he's appropriate with Donna now." Zara studied his face carefully. "Why does this bother you so much?" Warren was quiet for a long moment, wrestling with something internal. "My ex-wife used our custody arrangement as a weapon for years. Every time I disappointed her, she'd threaten to take my son away completely. I haven't seen him in 3 years because she moved across the country and I couldn't afford to fight her in court." His voice cracked slightly. "I know Rick doesn't deserve sympathy after what he did, but I also know what it's like to have someone you love kept from you unjustly." It was the most Warren had ever shared about his past, and Zara felt something shift between them. "I'm not trying to keep Donna from Rick for no reason. I'm trying to protect her. There's a fundamental difference between those situations." "I know," Warren said. "I'm sorry. That was my baggage, not yours. I shouldn't have projected it onto your situation." "We all have baggage," Zara replied, taking his hand. That's what makes us human and real. The unsupervised visits began, and surprisingly they went well. Rick took Donna to parks, to children's museums, to get ice cream and walk around the lake. He sent Zara photos of their activities without being asked, keeping her informed without being intrusive. It was painfully clear he was trying to be a better father than he'd been a husband. Hannah reported that Rick had also been making amends in other ways beyond just showing up. He'd apologized to Julian and the others at his former workplace, not asking for forgiveness, but simply acknowledging the harm he'd caused them. He'd paid back what he could from the unauthorized transactions, working out a structured payment plan for the rest. "I'm not saying you should forgive him," Hannah told Zara over lunch one afternoon, "but I think he's genuinely changed. Or at least, he's genuinely trying hard to change into someone better." "Good for him," Zara said, and meant it without sarcasm or bitterness. "I hope he becomes the kind of person Donna can be proud of someday. But that doesn't mean I have to have him in my life beyond co-parenting effectively." "Fair enough," Hannah agreed completely. Meanwhile, Zara's relationship with Warren deepened, despite its imperfections and challenges. He proposed after 14 months together, not with grand gestures or elaborate planning, but with raw honesty that touched her deeply. "I'm not perfect," he told her seriously. "I'll cancel plans when work gets crazy. I'm still working through my own divorce trauma in therapy every week. I might not always be emotionally available the way you need and deserve, but I love you, and I love Donna, and I want to build a life with you if you'll have me." Zara appreciated the honesty more than she would have appreciated a perfect proposal. "I'm not perfect either," she replied thoughtfully. "I'm still learning how to trust again after Rick. I might be paranoid about things that trigger memories. I might push you away when I get scared of being hurt again. But I love you too, and I want to try building something real together." They set a long engagement, giving Donna time to adjust, giving themselves time to be absolutely sure. There was no rush whatsoever. They were building something real, something that acknowledged their flaws, instead of pretending they didn't exist. The divorce was finally finalized on a Tuesday afternoon. Paperwork signed, assets divided, custody arrangements formalized in legal documents. Zara walked out of the courthouse feeling strange. Not happy exactly, not sad, just finished. A chapter of her life was officially complete, and a new one was beginning. That evening, Rick called unexpectedly. Zara almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. "I just wanted to say thank you," Rick said quietly, "for not making this worse than it had to be, for letting me have a relationship with Donna, for not destroying me completely, even though you easily could have." "I didn't do it for you," Zara replied honestly. "I did it for Donna and for myself, because holding on to anger forever would have poisoned me more than it hurt you." "I know. And I'm grateful anyway," Rick paused. Lana left, moved back to her hometown to be near her family. She decided to raise the baby there with their support. "I'm sorry," Zara said, and was surprised to find she genuinely meant it. "Don't be. It was the right choice for her situation. And honestly, I wasn't ready to be a father to another child when I barely know how to be a father to Donna." Rick's voice was steady, accepting. "I'm going to keep working on myself. Keep trying to be better. Maybe someday Donna will actually want to spend time with me instead of just tolerating me." "Maybe," Zara said, "but that's between you and her. I can't fix that relationship for you. I know. I'm not asking you to." Rick cleared his throat. "I hope you're happy, Zara. I genuinely mean that. I hope Warren treats you the way I should have." After he hung up, Zara sat in silence, processing the conversation. Rick wasn't redeemed or magically transformed. He hadn't become a good person overnight, but he was trying to be better, taking small steps forward. And that was more than she'd expected from him. She looked around her house, at the bright yellow kitchen, at the photos of Donna laughing, at the life she'd built from the ruins of her marriage. She thought about Warren, with all his flaws and genuine love. She thought about her career, her friendships, her daughter thriving. Rick had broken her heart and shattered her trust completely. But in doing so, he'd also set her free to discover who she was without him. And that woman was stronger, wiser, more complete than the woman who'd frozen at the breakfast table when her daughter said the wrong name. Some betrayals destroy you. Others remake you into something unbreakable. Zara had consciously chosen to be unbreakable. Chapter 8. The Life She Built from Pieces, 18 months after. Donna said that devastating name at breakfast. Zara stood in her backyard under string lights Warren had helped her hang, surrounded by people who genuinely loved her. It was Donna's 6th birthday party, and the yard was full of laughter. Children running with cake-smeared faces, adults chatting comfortably over wine and beer. Patricia was there, fussing over Donna's party dress, unchanged in her love, despite everything that had happened. Hannah manned the grill, having become one of Zara's closest friends through all the chaos and rebuilding. Friends from the hospital, neighbors, Donna's classmates with their parents, all gathered to celebrate. Warren stood beside Zara, his hand resting casually on her lower back. The engagement ring on her left hand still felt new, caught the light when she moved. He'd proposed 4 months ago, and they were planning a small wedding for the following spring, giving Donna plenty of time to adjust comfortably to the idea. Rick arrived 30 minutes into the party, having been invited because Zara believed Donna deserved to have both parents at her celebration. He carried a carefully wrapped present and looked nervous as he approached the group, unsure of his welcome in this space. "Thank you for inviting me," Rick said to Zara, his voice quiet and respectful. "This is Donna's day." Zara replied neutrally. "She wanted you here." Rick nodded, understanding the boundary clearly. He wasn't here as family, just as Donna's father. Patricia greeted her son with a hug, and Rick spent time with his daughter, pushing her on the swing set, laughing at her jokes, being present in a way he hadn't been when they were married. Zara watched from a distance, feeling nothing but mild satisfaction that Donna had both her parents in her life, even if they'd never be together again. Warren noticed her watching and squeezed her hand gently. "You okay?" he asked. "I'm perfect," Zara said, and meant it completely. Later, after most guests had left and Donna was opening presents, Rick approached Zara and Warren together. "I wanted you both to know I'm moving, taking a position in another city. It's a good opportunity, and I think some distance might be healthy for everyone involved." "What about Donna?" Zara asked, immediately protective. "I'll visit monthly, pay for you to bring her to visit during school breaks if she wants to come. I've already talked to my lawyer about modifying the custody agreement to reflect the distance." Rick looked at his daughter, his expression sad but accepting. "I know I don't get to be the main parent. I lost that right. But I want to be consistent, even from far away. I want her to know I'm trying." "Okay," Zara said, because what else was there to say? Rick was building a life that didn't include being Donna's primary father, and while it was sad, it was also his reality. After Rick left, Warren pulled Zara aside. "I need to tell you something. The hospital offered me a position as head of surgery. It would mean significantly longer hours, more administrative work, less time with you and Donna." Zara felt her stomach drop. "Are you taking it?" "I don't know," Warren admitted. "I want to professionally. It's an incredible opportunity. But I also don't want to be the guy who's never home, who always cancels plans. I don't want to be what Rick was to you." "You could never be what Rick was to me," Zara said firmly. "Rick chose another woman over his family. You're choosing between career opportunities, and you're being honest with me about it. That's completely different." "So you'd be okay if I took it?" "I'd be okay if you made the choice that's right for you, and we figured out how to make it work together," Zara replied. "That's what partners do. They don't sacrifice everything for each other, they find balance. If you take the position and it doesn't work for our family, we'll talk about it. If you don't take it and resent me for it, that's worse." Warren kissed her forehead. "How did you get so wise?" Painful experience, Zara said wryly. The expensive kind. That evening, after everyone had gone home and Donna was asleep surrounded by new toys, Zara and Warren sat on her back porch, looking at the stars. Warren's arm was around her shoulders, her head resting against his chest, and for the first time in years, Zara felt completely at peace. "I'm taking the position," Warren said quietly, "and we're going to make it work because you're right. Partners figure things out together." "We will," Zara agreed. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number saw the photos from Donna's party on social media.
"She looks happy."
"You look happy. I'm glad for both of you. Take care of our girl." "Rick." Zara read the message and felt nothing but distant acknowledgement. Rick was part of her past, a chapter that had ended. He would always be Donna's father, would always be connected to her life in that limited way, but he was no longer someone who could hurt her. She deleted the message without responding and turned her attention back to Warren, to the future they were building together, to the life she'd created from the wreckage of her marriage. "What are you thinking about?" Warren asked. "I'm thinking about how sometimes the worst thing that happens becomes the catalyst for the best thing that follows," Zara said. "I spent so many years trying to hold together something that was already broken, and now I get to build something new, something real, something that actually works." "No regrets?" Warren asked. "About the divorce?" "None. About the years I spent with Rick," Zara considered. "I regret the pain. I regret what Donna went through. But I can't regret the whole thing because it taught me what I'm worth. It taught me I can survive the worst kind of betrayal and come out stronger. It taught me I don't need someone to complete me. I just need someone to be honest with me." "I can do honest," Warren said. "I know you can," Zara replied. "That's why we're going to work." They sat in comfortable silence, and Zara felt something settle permanently in her chest. She'd survived Rick's betrayal. She'd protected Donna. She'd rebuilt her life on her own terms. And now she was building something new with someone who saw her clearly and loved her anyway, flaws and all. The name that shattered everything had ultimately freed her from a life that was slowly suffocating her. And Zara Foster was never going back to the woman she'd been. She was too busy being the woman she'd become, stronger, wiser, unbreakable in all the ways that mattered. Chapter 9. The Truth About Moving Forward. The wedding planning process revealed more about Warren than 18 months of dating had shown Zara. He was terrible at making decisions about anything that didn't involve medicine, got visibly anxious about guest lists, and shut down completely whenever his ex-wife's family was mentioned, even tangentially. Zara found herself doing most of the organizing, which frustrated her until she realized Warren was giving her control because he was afraid of making wrong choices after his first marriage failed so spectacularly. "You can't let one failed relationship paralyze you forever," Zara told him one evening when he'd agreed to 3 different venue options just to avoid conflict and decision-making. "I need you to actually have opinions, Warren. I need you to be a partner in this planning process, not just along for the ride." "I'm sorry," Warren said, looking genuinely distressed. My ex used to say I was controlling, that I never listened to what she wanted. I'm trying not to make the same mistakes. So now you're making different mistakes by not participating at all," Zara replied, but her tone was gentle and understanding. "I don't need you to be perfect. I just need you to be present. Tell me what you actually want, and we'll figure it out together." It was a breakthrough, and slowly Warren started engaging more authentically. He admitted he hated the idea of a big wedding, would prefer something small with just close friends and family. He said he wanted Donna involved in the ceremony meaningfully, making her feel part of their new family from the beginning. He even admitted he was terrified of being a stepfather, worried he'd mess up somehow, and Zara would see him the way she saw Rick. "You're not Rick," Zara said firmly. "Rick made selfish choices and lied about them systematically. You're making honest mistakes and talking to me about your fears openly. Those aren't even in the same universe. Meanwhile, Rick continued his monthly visits with Donna. He'd moved to a city 3 hours away, taken a position that paid less but gave him stability and routine. He video-called Donna twice a week, sent her cards on holidays, and slowly, painfully, was building something that resembled a functional father-daughter relationship. It wasn't perfect. Donna still kept some emotional distance, still saw Rick as someone who'd left rather than someone who was trying to come back. But she no longer cried when it was time for visits, no longer asked Zara if she had to go see Daddy. During one pickup, Rick pulled Zara aside. "I want you to know I'm seeing someone. Nothing serious yet, but I wanted to tell you before Donna mentioned her." "That's fine," Zara said, and meant it. "You don't need my permission to date, Rick. We're divorced." "I know. But I also know I introduced LANA to Donna without telling you, and that was wrong. I'm trying to do things differently this time." Rick looked uncomfortable but determined. "Her name is Iris. She's a teacher. She knows about my past, about what I did. She's helping me be better." "Good," Zara said simply. "Donna deserves to see you in a healthy relationship, not repeating the same mistakes." "Thank you for not being bitter about it," Rick said. "I'm not bitter," Zara replied honestly. "I'm just done. There's a difference." The conversation stayed with Zara for days. She realized she genuinely wished Rick well, wanted him to be happy and stable for Donna's sake. She'd stopped wanting revenge, stopped needing him to suffer. His consequences had been significant, losing his family, his career, his reputation. But she didn't need him to be miserable forever to feel vindicated. She was happy. That was enough. Her relationship with Warren continued to deepen and occasionally frustrate in equal measure. He took the position as head of surgery and immediately became consumed by it, cancelling 3 dinner plans in the first week alone. Zara found herself alone with Donna more than she'd expected, and resentment started building insidiously. "We need to talk," Zara said after the 3rd cancellation. "I understand your job is demanding. Mine is too, but I need to know you're committed to this relationship, to this family we're building. Because right now, it feels like I'm doing all the work alone." Warren looked stricken. "I'm sorry. I didn't realize." "That's the problem," Zara interrupted. "You didn't realize because you're not paying attention. I need you to be present, Warren. Not perfect, not available every second, but present when you're here. Otherwise, what are we doing?" "Ubis." It was their first real fight, and it was messy and uncomfortable. Warren got defensive, Zara got sharp, and they both said things they regretted. But afterward, they talked it through honestly. Warren admitted he'd been using work to avoid dealing with his anxiety about marriage. Zara admitted she'd been hypersensitive because of Rick's betrayal, seeing abandonment where there was just poor time management. "We're both still healing from our past relationships," Warren said. "And we're bringing that baggage into this one. Maybe we should do couples therapy before we get married. Make sure we're actually ready." "That's probably the smartest thing you've said in weeks." Zara agreed. The therapy sessions were illuminating and sometimes uncomfortable. Their therapist pointed out that Zara had a pattern of overfunctioning to compensate for partners who underfunctioned, and Warren had a pattern of withdrawing when he felt criticized. They were replicating their dysfunctional patterns with each other, even though they both wanted something different. "You're not doomed," the therapist assured them. "But you're both going to have to do work. Real work, not just hoping things get better." They did the work. Warren learned to communicate when he felt overwhelmed, instead of just disappearing. Zara learned to voice her needs before resentment built up. It wasn't easy, and they had setbacks, but they kept showing up for each other and for therapy. The sessions also helped Zara process her lingering trauma from Rick's betrayal. She talked about the morning Donna called her LANA, about the devastation of discovering the affair, about how long it took her to trust again. Warren listened without judgment, shared his own pain from his divorce, and they found common ground in their brokenness. "I think we both chose safety the first time around," Warren said during one session. We chose partners who seemed stable, and we ignored red flags because we wanted it to work. This time we're choosing each other with our eyes open. Eyes wide open, Zara agreed, which is scarier but also healthier. 6 weeks before the wedding, Zara had a moment of pure panic. She was folding laundry in her bedroom when she suddenly couldn't breathe and couldn't think, could only feel terror that she was making another mistake, choosing another man who would eventually hurt her. She called Hannah, who came over immediately. "Talk to me," Hannah said. "What's happening?" "What if I'm wrong about Warren? What if he's just better at hiding his flaws than Rick was? What if I'm about to marry someone who'll destroy me all over again?" The words tumbled out in a rush. "Do you believe that?" Hannah asked calmly. "Actually believe it, not just fear it." Zara took a shaky breath. "No, but I'm terrified anyway." "That's normal," Hannah said. "You went through something traumatic. Of course you're scared. But Warren isn't Rick. He's flawed, yes. He's not perfect at managing his time. He shuts down emotionally sometimes. He has his own baggage. But he's honest with you about it. He's working on it. That's the difference." "What if honest isn't enough?" Zara whispered. "Then you'll handle it. You'll make the choice that's right for you and Donna. But don't sabotage something good because you're afraid it might turn bad. That's letting Rick win, and you're better than that." Zara wiped her eyes. "When did you get so wise?" "I learned from the strongest woman I know," Hannah replied, hugging her friend. "You're going to be okay, Zara. Whatever happens, you're going to be okay." The panic attack became a turning point. Zara realized she'd been waiting for the other shoe to drop, expecting Warren to betray her the way Rick had. But Warren wasn't Rick. He cancelled plans because of genuine emergencies, not because he was living a double life. He struggled with vulnerability because of his past trauma, not because he was hiding secrets. His flaws were human, not destructive. She started seeing their relationship more clearly. Yes, Warren worked too much sometimes, but he also showed up for Donna's school events, remembered her favorite foods, asked about her day with genuine interest. Yes, he struggled with emotional intimacy, but he was in therapy working on it, not hiding behind charm and lies. Yes, their relationship required effort, but it was honest effort, transparent and shared. The wedding, when it came, was small and perfect. Just close friends and family in Patricia's backyard, Donna wearing a flower crown and standing between Zara and Warren during the ceremony. Rick wasn't invited, and Zara felt no guilt about that boundary. This day was about her future, not her past. When the officiant asked if anyone objected, Zara's heart jumped for just a moment, an old fear surfacing. But the moment passed peacefully, and she married Warren under the autumn sky, surrounded by people who loved them both genuinely. Patricia cried happy tears and hugged Zara tightly afterward. "You deserve all the happiness in the world," she whispered. "I'm so grateful you're still in our lives." Hannah gave a toast that made everyone laugh and cry. "To Zara, who taught me that surviving something terrible doesn't mean you stop living. It means you live more fully, more honestly, more courageously than before." Warren's vows were simple but profound. "I promise to show up even when it's hard. I promise to be honest, even when it's uncomfortable. I promise to choose you every day in ways both big and small. And I promise to be worthy of the trust you're giving me." Zara's vows were equally honest. "I promise to believe in us, even when fear tries to convince me otherwise. I promise to speak my truth, even when silence seems easier. I promise to build a life with you that honors both our pasts and creates something new. And I promise that our home will always be built on honesty, not secrets." It wasn't a fairy tale ending with perfect people. Warren would still cancel plans sometimes. Zara would still get triggered by things that reminded her of Rick. They would still fight, still frustrate each other, still have to work at their relationship. But it was real. It was honest, and it was hers, and that made all the difference in the world. Chapter 10. The Woman Who Chose Herself. 2 years after Donna called her LANA, Zara woke up in her sun-filled bedroom with Warren beside her and Donna's laughter echoing from downstairs. She lay there for a moment, soaking in the peace of it, marveling at how different her life looked from the morning her world had shattered. The divorce was ancient history now. Rick had settled into his life in another city, visiting Donna once a month with reliable consistency. He'd married Iris in a quiet ceremony, sent Zara and Warren a tasteful congratulations card when they'd announced their engagement. He was in Donna's life, but no longer in Zara's head, which was exactly where he belonged. Donna had adjusted better than anyone expected. She called Warren by his name, had a good relationship with him, but understood he wasn't trying to replace her father. Her therapist reported she was thriving, processing the family changes in healthy ways, showing no signs of lasting trauma. Patricia remained a constant presence, splitting her time between Zara's family and visiting Rick, somehow managing to love both her son and her former daughter-in-law without choosing sides. Hannah had become Zara's sister in all but blood. Their friendship deepened by surviving chaos together. Warren came downstairs to where Zara was making breakfast, wrapping his arms around her waist from behind. "Morning," he murmured into her hair. "Morning," she replied, leaning back against him. "Sleep okay?" "Better than okay." He kissed her neck. "I have surgery this afternoon, but I'm all yours until then." "Good," Zara said. "Donna wants to go to the park. I thought we could make a day of it." They spent the morning at the park, the three of them, nothing dramatic or extraordinary, just swings and slides and ice cream that melted in the unexpected warmth. Donna chatted about her friends, about the book she was reading, about wanting a pet rabbit. "Can we talk about the rabbit?" Warren asked Zara quietly while Donna played. "You hate the idea," Zara guessed. "I don't hate it. I just worry about the time commitment, and Donna's still young," Warren trailed off. "But I also don't want to be the stepdad who says no to everything. I'm trying to find the balance. So we'll talk about it as a family," Zara said. "Discuss responsibilities, time commitments, all of it. And then we'll make a decision together. That's how this works." "Together," Warren agreed, squeezing her hand. That afternoon, Zara had coffee with an old colleague who was going through a divorce. The woman cried as she described discovering her husband's affair, the devastation of betrayal, the fear of being alone. "How did you do it?" the woman asked Zara. "How did you survive and come out okay?" Zara thought carefully before answering. "I don't know if I have good advice because every situation is different, but I can tell you what helped me. I stopped trying to understand why he did it and focused on what I needed to do next. I protected my daughter. I got good legal help. I let myself be angry without letting anger consume me." She paused. "And I learned that surviving someone's betrayal doesn't mean you have to hate them forever. It just means you have to stop letting them define your worth." "Do you forgive him?" the woman asked. "I don't think about him enough to forgive or not forgive him," Zara said honestly. "He's just someone I used to know, someone I co-parent with. The man who hurt me doesn't exist anymore, and neither does the woman he hurt. We both became different people." Later, picking Donna up from a playdate, Zara ran into LANA at a grocery store. They recognized each other immediately, both freezing, neither sure what to say. "Hi," LANA said finally, looking uncomfortable. "I wasn't sure if you'd want me to acknowledge you." "It's fine," Zara replied, meaning it. "How are you?" Good, better." LANA gestured to her stomach, visibly pregnant again. "My husband and I are expecting a fresh start." "I'm happy for you," Zara said, and was surprised to find she meant it. "Genuinely, I'm sorry," LANA blurted out, "for everything I did. I was selfish and thoughtless, and I helped destroy your family. I don't expect forgiveness, but I wanted you to know I've spent a lot of time thinking about the choices I made and how wrong they were." Zara studied the woman in front of her, seeing not a villain, but just another person who'd made terrible mistakes. "I appreciate you saying that. For what it's worth, I hope you've learned from it. I hope you build something good with your husband, something honest." "I'm trying," LANA said softly. Every day I'm trying to be better than I was." They parted ways, and Zara continued her shopping, feeling lighter. She'd let go of so much anger she hadn't even realized she was still carrying. Lana didn't need to be the villain of her story anymore. Neither did Rick. They were just people who'd made choices, and those choices had consequences, and life had moved on for everyone. That evening, Warren had to leave for an emergency surgery just as they were sitting down to dinner. "I'm sorry," he said, kissing Zara's forehead. "I know we had plans." "It's okay," Zara interrupted. "Go save someone's life. Donna and I will be here when you get back." After he left, Donna looked at Zara thoughtfully. "Are you sad Warren had to leave?" "A little disappointed," Zara admitted. "But that's different from sad. Warren's doing important work. I'm proud of him for that, even when it means he can't be here." "Did you love Daddy like you love Warren?" Donna asked, the question catching Zara off guard. "I did," Zara said honestly. "But it was different. I was younger, and I didn't know myself as well. I loved your father very much, but we weren't right for each other. Sometimes love isn't enough if people aren't healthy together. But you and Warren are healthy," Donna pressed. "We're working on it," Zara said. "Every day, we're working on being good for each other. That's what matters." "I'm glad you're happy, Mommy," Donna said, hugging her tight. "You smile more now." The simple observation brought tears to Zara's eyes. From the mouth of a child came the truest assessment of her journey. She did smile more now. She laughed more freely, loved more openly, lived more fully. That night, after Donna was asleep, Zara stood in her kitchen, her bright yellow kitchen that looked nothing like the one where her world had ended. She poured herself a glass of wine and thought about the woman she'd been 2 years ago, frozen and devastated, her daughter's innocent words destroying everything. That woman felt like a stranger now. She'd been so focused on holding everything together that she hadn't realized the foundation was rotten. Rick's betrayal had destroyed something that needed destroying, freeing her to build something genuine. She'd learned she was stronger than she knew. She'd learned to ask for help. She'd learned that protecting herself and protecting her daughter weren't mutually exclusive. She'd learned that forgiveness wasn't about the other person. It was about releasing yourself from the poison of endless anger. She'd learned that loving someone new didn't erase the pain of the past. It just proved that pain doesn't have to define your future. Her phone buzzed. A text from Warren. "Surgery went well. Patient is stable. Love you. Home in an hour." Zara smiled, typing back a quick response. Then she walked upstairs, checked on Donna one more time, and got ready for bed. Warren would be home soon, tired but fulfilled. Donna was safe and sleeping peacefully. Tomorrow they'd wake up and do it all again. Work, school, dinner, bedtime, the beautiful mundane routine of a healthy family. 2 years ago, she couldn't have imagined this life. Couldn't have imagined surviving what Rick did to her, let alone thriving afterward. But here she was, not just surviving, but genuinely happy in a way that had nothing to do with anyone else and everything to do with knowing her own worth. The name that shattered everything had ultimately saved her. Because in breaking apart, she discovered pieces of herself she hadn't known existed. And in putting those pieces back together, she'd built something unbreakable. She was Zara Foster, mother, professional partner, survivor, fighter. Woman who'd been betrayed and chosen to rise anyway. Woman who'd learned that the ending of one story was just the beginning of a better one. The doorbell rang, Warren having forgotten his keys again. Zara smiled, went downstairs, opened the door to let him in. He looked exhausted and exhilarated all at once. "Rough night?" she asked. "Long night," he corrected. "But I'm home now." "You're home," Zara agreed, pulling him close, and that was everything she needed.